responsible for your behavior.
Sorry for the buffeting, that's,
The average length of a pit stop in a NASCAR race, 14 seconds.
Accountability is everywhere. It's most often practiced before it's utilized. It helps accelerate performance. It actively engages. It allows us to track successes and progress toward individual and team goals. When we grasp the power of our assignment and resiliently take action, we're able to run our race and win. When the pressure is on, accountability helps us persevere. It drives us to succeed and leads us to victory where we need it the most. When we hold each other accountable, there's nothing stopping us in this race called life. Accountability. What are you responsible for?
when I think of accountability, I have to think about a group that I'm involved in, and it's called my accountability group. There are about 6 guys who've been together for a good number of years, and I'm accountable with them. They ask me hard questions at times, and I ask them hard questions. And the last question we'll ask each other is, have you lied to me? You know, it's important to be accountable. I'm accountable to my wife, I'm accountable to my family, I'm accountable to a board of directors. Accountability is an important quality because it helps me grow, it helps me have healthy relationships. I don't want to be a lone wolf out here. I want to be accountable for what I do. Now, it's important for all of us to realize this. Every one of us, whether you're a follower of Christ or not, are really accountable to God because there are no secrets, there are no hidden activities. He sees and knows it all. And I don't have to live in fear of that because He loves me, and He loves me with an everlasting love. He has nothing but the best in interest for me, so that's okay. It's okay to be accountable. It's an important quality. And if you're going to advance in your career, I want to suggest that accountability is really a very, very important principle. Because if you don't have it, you start operating in secrecy and you compromise integrity. I want at the bottom of the chart, I want to be known as a person of integrity. I don't want secrets. I want to live openly. And in order for me to do that, I have to be accountable. In Hebrews chapter 10, we read these words, and let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together. In other words, an accountability group. Now, it can be called church, but accountability is vitally important. And I want to encourage you to live with accountability.
This is great small group stuff. Every company ought to be, because if we don't build character, your employee, and that was the thing that impressed me about when I first went to Weaver Leather and saw this, because they've been doing the written part of it for about 25 years. The video part just started 4 years ago.
Weaver Leather, they're the ones that developed.
Paul, but it was he was using a thing called Character Plus,
Okay.
and it got dated. They didn't keep it fresh, and he said, "I need this," and so he developed this. And Paul's an amazing guy. Has a 7th grade education, but I think we have copies enough of his book on leadership over there for each of you to have. He's one of my best friends, but he put all this together for his company, and the character that's been developed over 25 years at Weaver Leather. For instance, that day, the first time I went, they showed the video. Paul did the teaching, or no, before they did that, before the video, they recognized employees, and there were 2 girls that this was their 1-year anniversary in December. And so they had them stand. There was somebody that had a 7-year anniversary. There was another person, I think, 12 years, somebody 17 years. And there was one guy that's worked at Weaver Leather for 43 years.
Wow.
And I mean, everybody's cheering, and it just was a pretty powerful moment for me to see all this. Then Paul taught, and after the showed the video, then he taught it, and then they went over their numbers. This happened to be December, so it was close to the year end, and this department's up 10%, this department's up 12%. It was amazing, and I mean, one department was up 50%.
Wow.
I mean, in 1 year. I mean, I was sitting there and looking at it, just, but the energy that it brought into the room. And the other part of it, and this is what companies need to hear, when they do an exit interview, when somebody leaves, the thing that almost every one of them value most is what Weaver Leather has invested in them. They're better individuals for having worked at Weaver Leather. The energy that was in that place is just, oh, I was up there several weeks ago. No, I guess it was in December again this year. And I mean, they're off the chart of growth. It's phenomenal what God's done and is doing in and through them. And so much of it, Paul would say, is related to Lodestar guidance. Now, here's, as it says, it's been given to us. And I'll just pick a number. Say, you sell it. What you do, you buy, say, for a year. And that means you get, if I'll pick a number, 25 people. That's the entry level. It goes from, I think, 12 up to 25. And you buy that, and I'm not sure what the exact number is, but say it's $12,000, I mean $1,200 a year for a packet of 15 or 20. Oh, here, there's the numbers. So $1,375. Half of that comes to you if you sell it to a company or to a small group or to a family. And you know, $1,375, that's not a lot, but it's also, it's that you're basically paying for these bulletins. And you get a year's supply of 12 principles. And then next year, if you call and they renew for a second year, and we've got companies that have been doing this for 12, 14 years. They keep renewing. And so, I have one company in Ohio that's, they've got 700 employees, and they're using it. So you do the math on that. It's pretty significant. And it could fund your ministry in large part.
So the 1375 is for a 12 to 25 pack?
Yes,
Okay.
and it's for 1 year. You get 12 principles, and the videos, you have access to all the videos. And so Tim is the new director of Lodestar Guidance. Starts later this week, June the 1st. Tim, you got anything you'd like to say about this?
Yes, I just want to echo what Steve has said. I think that what we have observed from this and the evidence that we've gotten back from people that use it is just an incredible tool that we're seeing changing the culture in businesses and or churches or wherever that it may be applied. But the more people we're talking to is we can change the culture in the workforce, and it helps change the family life, change the spiritual life. It just all goes together. And I think one of the real selling points, is the brilliance of it is the way that it's designed, as Steve said, was the brochure. All these are biblically based principles, but it's not overt until you get to the center part. And so there's a lot of different applications. So a Christian businessman can take and use this in his business and yet have this available, but still get the benefit of all the biblically based character principles in it. And so we just believe it has tremendous potential to help change workplace environments. And as Steve mentioned there, a lot of the people that are exiting these companies are saying, this is what we valued from it. And, you know, in these days and times when, you know, people have so many opportunities out there for them, I think that the investment that they can make in their employees will just have residuals beyond what they can imagine. In fact, a couple weeks ago, Steve and I were traveling together and got a call from a local business. And last year was not the best year because of the weather. They were a construction business, and so they weren't able to give the raises like they typically did. And he called Steve and said, I want to start investing in their lives so that they'll understand the bigger picture. And so it was great to hear that, you know, a Christian businessman understood that principle, and so they're going to be investing in it, understanding that the opportunity they have for their employees is more than just a paycheck. It's to help them in their overall life. And so we think it has great potential. Love to talk to you about it.
So what do they meet, once a month?
That's what they do. That's what it's designed to do. Weaver Leather meets the second Friday of every month. The reason they do that is because their numbers are in for the previous month. And they can go over how things are going within the company. And, but, you know, you can do it however you choose to do it. We have a number of, I think, 2 or 3 fire companies now that are using it. I've talked to the Harrisonburg Police Department, and, you know, not everybody separates. I mean, Weaver Leather, they get the whole package. And Paul had one person push back on it and said, you don't have to come. I'm paying you to be here. If you choose to go drink a cup of coffee while we meet, that's up to you. But I'm not gonna change anything about it. So if a person chooses not to go to the meeting, they know what's gonna happen, but, at this point, I don't think anybody chooses not to go, then they love it. And, there's a large lumber company, hardware store, they have 700 employees, they're using it every month, and,
So how long does it take, an hour, 2 hours?
oh, no, 30 minutes.
So they just watch the video?
They watch the video, and he walks them through this.
Read through.
You don't really fill it out, you don't discuss it?
Well, they discuss it then in small groups. This is the large group meeting. But let's say the sewing department, whoever's over that, that becomes the principal of the month. And they just talk about it in small group meetings that maybe meet weekly to go over what's happening in their department. And they'll talk about the principal. How's this impacting your life? It's more that relationship than it's sit down but encourage people to grade yourself on the back. You can look and say, you know, I'm a 3. Hopefully a year from now you're moved up to a 4, or you may feel, oh man, I'm at a 2 now. What I got to change this stuff. That's what it's all about.
How long does it typically take to get through all 48 principles given?
If you do one a month, it's,
Yeah.
4 years.
4 years, okay.
Yeah.
Who typically presents the material, the size?
Well, that's a great question. What we've done, what I've done with some of the companies that I've agreed to do it for the first couple of months, but the goal is for either the company president or one of the leaders to do it, because what it does then, that develops leadership capital for them. And some guys said, man, I'm not sure if I can do this, you know, I'm being vulnerable. I said, that's the whole point. They know you. It's no need to act like you got something you don't have. And if you're struggling with patience, just tell them, man, this is one of my weak areas. You need to pray for me in this area. So, you know, be on a journey together where you're trying to improve and you want them to improve. So don't get up and act like you got it all together. You don't. None of us do. My goal is I want to get there, but I'm a work in progress. Philippians 1:6, the good work that God's begun in you, He's going to carry it on to completion. He's not completed yet.
Yeah, you know, I bet my middle brother would absolutely be all over this. I'll see him next week in
Good.
Charlotte, but he has a plumbing company that he owns. He's a very strong Christian, has about 35 employees,
Okay.
and he's all over Charlotte advertising.
Amen.
And part of what he does is a short 30-second video clip that says, do it with Dave. And once a month they feature something in the area, whether it's homeless, whether it's putting backpacks together
Yeah.
for kids in school, underprivileged areas, building a playground.
Yeah.
And he goes and does it with his
With his
team.
group, yeah. After he asked me to be involved in this, before he gave it to me, a part of our strategy was to bring in business leaders and introduce them to Lodestar guidance. And we still plan to do probably 2 or 3 of those a year. Just a little different than a president's council. The president's council never really worked for me. I think it's great. I wish I had all those kind of relationships, but I'm not saying that others. I'll be careful what I say, because I think it's a great program, and I learned a lot from it. So I'm not demeaning any of that. And I know Louise, for instance, and others, Frank and Graham, they speak into the lives of the people that come. So they're giving, but this is a tool that I feel like I can give business leaders that will make them be better leaders and bless their company and bless the people that work for them. And so the reason we named this the Lodestar Mountain Inn is one of the strategies long term is to at least 3 to 4 times a year, especially younger emerging business leaders that would love to spend 3 days with Paul Weaver, or love to spend 3 days with a friend of mine in Pennsylvania that has the largest private company in the state of Pennsylvania. Hers Potato Chips, Hatfield Meats. God's blessed me with those relationships. And to be able to bring in those leaders who are now, some of them even in their 80s, where a group of young businessmen can come and spend 2 or 3 days with them, be introduced to this, but be able to be there and, like we're sitting right here, ask questions and you know, how did you get to where you are, that kind of thing.
Have you developed yet, say, a list of references that people could call?
Yes, companies that are using it would be glad to do that. Weaver Leather, of course, would be one. Kind Lumber. So yeah, there are a number. Skyline Roofing, fire company out in Ohio. There's a school system. I think this is an easy sell too. East Mid-Atlantic High School, I just went to a local businessman and said, would you fund this if we can get it in the high school? Paul Lehman's a good friend of mine, he's the principal, headmaster, and I went to him and said, yeah, and they have the principles of the year. They chose 12 principles, compassion, I think, integrity, self-control, and they painted those on the walls of the school. And so they're doing one a month. And now, rather than each student getting one of these, the teachers get it, and because they didn't think the students would do the principle. I mean, they keep the flyers. And so we can come up with a list of bullet points that are handed out, and it becomes the principle of the month. Been great. So, and it's a very easy thing to do. And
You guys did the bullet points, or they did the bullet points?
they did, but we're going to do that. Tim's going so much of this dream has just happened, and my focus has been finishing this. I'm in the process of writing a new devotional called Lodestar Guidance, and taking the principles. For instance, integrity will be a week of integrity devotions. Self-control will be a week. So that's the plan. Tim, go to the boldest one. We talked a lot about being bold this week, or the last couple of days, and we've named a number of evangelists this morning that showed bold faith. And so one of the principles is boldness.
Boldness. If you're going to be a servant leader and you're going to act with boldness, the more you relate to Him, the more you live in the center of His will, the more boldness you will have, because He gives you the confidence that you're standing with Him and you're representing Him. And it'll give you boldness. So work on it, develop it, Know him, serve him, love him, and you will be bold.
That's great, Steve. I got a question for you. Do you have a different shirt for every 40 you say? Okay, I just noticed you went red, green.
Let's go to courage, Tim, I wanna do that one, and we'll do integrity, and then that'll be it.
Unrealized potential. And sometimes obstacles are there to test our abilities. If we are courageous, we take action in brave, daring, dauntless, and fearless ways. Courageous people take that brave first step, pursuing pioneering efforts, and rise to the occasion.
Guess you test our courage this morning on all those ladders.
Someone who has courage will always volunteer to go first. When we step out and take that long walk of courage, more times than not, it will benefit us in the long run. Courage requires letting go, having faith, and being open to change. Refusing to be nervous or scared of the potential outcome. And when we show courage in this life, we make waves. And courage has a lasting ripple effect to others around us. In situations where others may be timid or scared, courage can break down those barriers and encourage others to take that leap and be courageous themselves. Courage. Do you have it?
When I think of courage, I can't help but think of one of my favorite Bible characters, and that's David. When he was just a kid, his dad sent him to take some food to his brothers who were fighting a battle. And he gets down there, and he finds the army of Israel hiding in tents, and there's a giant coming out and intimidating them all. And they're scared to death. David says, I'll go. And somebody sent word to Saul, the leader, and he sent for David. He said, you know, you can't go like that. You got to take my arm. And he said, no, the Lord's delivered a lion and a bear in my hand with this slingshot. I'll do it. So he gets 5 stones. Some people say, why did he get 5 stones? Because I believe Goliath had 4 brothers. And he said, today they're going to know that there's a mighty God in Israel. Well, the point is this. David saw a mighty God. Everybody else saw a big giant. And if we will operate like that, knowing that we are in the hands of a mighty God. He is our strength. He is our provider. He has chosen to indwell us by the power of His Spirit when we come into a relationship with Him. That in itself gives us courage to do right. And that's what you want. Because if you will just do right, it'll help you in every situation. And if you keep your eyes on a mighty God and not on the circumstance, that gives you courage to face the circumstance, because you realize that you and God make a majority. And I mean that. I'm not just saying that. That is a fact, because God says He will empower me, He will strengthen me in my inner being, and nobody can defeat me as I'm in Christ. That's courage, my friend. Not in my own strength, not in my own ability, but my strength, my resource comes from a mighty God who loves me, who has empowered me, and that helps me operate with courage. I hope you will live in that kind of relationship and experience courage.
Couple more, Steve. Thank you, sir.
Integrity is hundreds of little choices every single day. It can improve relationships at work, with friends, or even at home with the family. We are always presented opportunities to show integrity. Life brings challenges that sometimes we can't avoid. Big and small. The tests are always there. Tell me that didn't just happen. Oh, I don't think anyone saw me. You didn't see that happen, right?
She's like, yeah, right now.
Okay, gotta get these groceries home. Where are the keys?
In the shopping cart.
You gotta be kidding me.
Oh, it's so, oh, like that. Oh, that's good.
Found it. Oh, don't give me those eyes. This isn't right. I can't do this. And it just keeps getting better, doesn't it?
Oh. She's oh, they're both standing there.
Athletes don't cost that much. They'll be fine. How can I expect her to do the right thing in her life if I don't do the right thing in this moment? I have to show integrity.
So what's integrity? It's doing the right thing when nobody's looking. And that's the kind of person you want to be. But I want to remind you that there's always somebody looking. God created you to have a relationship with Him. And regardless if you know Him or not, one day all of us are going to give an account to the living God. And He watches all that I do. I don't say that to put you in bondage. It really creates great freedom. Because when I understand that I was created to represent Him well, it helps me live out the fact that I want to be a person of integrity. I want to do what's right, period. And you know, if you live that out, the benefit of that reputation is overwhelming. It improves relationships, it creates trust, it builds your reputation to know that you are a person of integrity. What greater testimony could you have when somebody's looking to advance their career and a person says, well, one thing I know about him or her is that they are a person of integrity. You don't want to be known as dishonest or a hypocrite, or you don't want to be seen as somebody that has moral weakness or is just out for self-interest. You want to be a person of integrity that does what's right. You know, we read in Proverbs that the integrity of the upright guides them. And that's what I want to be my guide. See, that's why it's important for me to live out my faith as a way of life, because integrity becomes a guide for me that dictates what I do and in other words, you can't be bought. You don't have enough money to buy Steve. Because I want to be a person of integrity, because I know bottom line, I answer to God. Now, if I live that out, it's going to benefit me at work because I'm going to do what's right, period. And my employer, my employee knows that that's who I am as a person. So, I want you to make the right choice. Be a person of integrity.
These really work in lots of different kinds of organizations. I facilitated this in fire departments, in business settings, in church settings. And so it works in a lot of different organizations because these principles really apply to anybody in any kind of a setting. The facilitating is very similar in all the organizations, but it works with different kinds of companies. And again, it's that discussion, it's that being honest, assessing yourself of how you can get better. Really plants the seeds of saying, hey, I want to improve as an individual. And it's a great way as a company to see which employees that you have really take this seriously and really are working on themselves to improve themselves. And so it's a great developmental tool that can